Well, hello, howdy, greetings, guten tag, bonjour, and general welcomings to this, my first Toon Boom Animate Pro 3 tutorial. Sorry, just get a little bit of air in there before I die of asphyxia. Right, okay, I'm going to get straight to it. I don't believe in long-winded introductions for these sort of things. They drive me mad on other tutorials. Now, as you can see on this screen, there are a billion zillion buttons. I've counted each one. And they can be a bit intimidating when you first are greeted with this rather imposing screen. Well, the good thing is that you don't need to know most of them when you first start using it. You can calm down, relax, take some tea, a little sip of Earl Grey tea. It'll all be fine. Most of these functions in particular, you don't even need on the screen. They just sort of save and new and all that sort of thing, undo, So a lot of it doesn't appear unless you absolutely need it, and when you do need it, there's a tooltip that appears. It should help guide you. But what I want to concern you with is knowing how the thing works, how the brain of it works. And let's start and see where it takes us. Don't worry about any of it. We will cover it at some point. Now, first of all, I'll introduce you to the main thing, which is the toolbar at the left-hand side of the screen. You can move, incidentally, all these bits and pieces to wherever you want them. And I myself have a dual monitor set up at home, so I don't normally work quite this cramped. But for the purpose of the tutorial, obviously, I've got it on the screen, ready for you to see. Otherwise, it wouldn't be any good. So this one obviously is the select tool. You see this in all sorts of other programs before, and it selects things in the same sort of way you're used to. This one is a secondary select tool. I don't know what its official title is, but let's call it that, or the white selection. And when you click on it, you have all sorts of other little options. Oh dear God, more options! Don't worry, it'll be fine. We will work it out. Now, we have two sets of brushes here. We have the normal brush tool, and then we have the pencil tool, which if anybody's used Flash in the past, the pencil tool is generally regarded as the leftovers from Satan's nostrils. Well, I'm happy to say that I believe Toon Boom has a major trump card in the pencil tool, which I'll cover a little bit later on, but don't write it off. It is your friend, not your enemy. We also have now the text tool, which in my opinion is actually my favourite tool, because sod all the animation and beautiful graphics. If you want to type War and Peace and make the text into multicolours and jump about, this is the program for you. And personally, I think a lot of novels would benefit from those sort of effects. We have the rubber tool, or the eraser tool, as you Americans, your American cousins say. And then you have the paint bucket tool here, which if you press it, scares the living bejesus out of people with all these other options. Don't worry, it's not too bad. I'll hold your hand. Ignore the passing plane as it passes by. They're not interested. We can talk on our own. Now, we have the line tool here. It has line, rectangle, ellipse, polyline. I won't go over those. It should be fairly explanatory what those are. We have the ink dropper tool. Again, that's pretty self-explanatory. We have this circle thing with the crosshair on it. We have several noses, which seem to be sort of becoming slowly more rotund. And then we have this, which is the hand tool, but it's actually general views, and I'll cover that in a bit, not just yet. We have the animate button, which if you have it on or off will allow you to animate or not animate things. I'll cover that a bit later on as well. And we have the transform tool here. We have the inverse kinematics tool, which I've yet to use actually. I've never used inverse kinematics really before, so I'm not that experienced with that one. I'm sure there are plenty of people who love inverse kinematics, want to marry it, and I would encourage you to do so. Just don't ask me to tell you how, because I don't know. And the onion skin, which is the preserve of all animation programs, and I think they've really done a very good job with pretty much all of those tools actually. Over here we have the animation timeline, which is pretty similar to most animation programs in the sense that you have basically a ruler with time going along and various other little options which we'll cover in a bit. in the main camera screen, we have also a myriad of little fiddly options here. This is a little menu here, and these things. Don't worry, I will cover that at some other point. I won't get bogged down with it yet, however much you ask me. Now, let's start by introducing you to the brush tools. Now I'm going to start with the brush, and if I click it, you notice that the tool properties appears. And this is a marvelous thing about this. Unlike certain other programs, this has some marvelous, really good quality brushes in it. They're all customizable. Let me just bring that down. So you can change the size and the minimum size. So if you had it all fat and you wanted to change the ends, you can do that. You can change how it smooths. Anyone with Flash will know that smoothing is quite an important part of drawing with it sometimes. You don't want to have every little flick of your fingers necessarily translate onto the screen. You want it to be a little bit smoothed. You can have a texture if you want, which you can actually load your own textures if you want to. You don't have to necessarily just have the ones that it's providing. You can have your own. So if you want Justin Bieber's face sprawled across your brush, first of all, apart from recommending some psychiatrist, you can, and of course you've got the same tip shapes as you have with Flash, along with some other rather eccentric designs here, like little stars. Because I love animating little films with little stars in. Now, I'm just going to fatten that brush a bit. I'm going to draw a little character for us to work with. Now, first of all, we need to have a drawing layer created. So I'll just press this plus button, and oh dear God, more options. Don't worry. It'll just be the drawing layer I want at the moment. Some of these are fairly self-explanatory, like a camera, because you can actually have your own camera, a proper dedicated camera in this program, which is a really handy thing. And color card, just for quickly creating a new background of a color. So you don't have to fill some rectangle and position it over the screen. You can say color card and select the color, and it's done. You can group things and peg things and sound things. And blah, blah, blah. Let's concentrate on the drawing. So we've now got this drawing layer. Thank you, autosave. Thank you. Any layer you're currently drawing on is highlighted and has a little pencil. If you notice, sweet little eyes look around. Basically, this means turn things off, and it turns things on. It makes them visible or invisible. Visible, invisible. Or you can just select each individual one and turn them on and off like that. Lock, obviously. That makes it onion skin or not, because you can actually say which layers you want onion skinned rather than just the one you're on. You can have multiples. And this, you can actually change the color of the layer. So if I wanted a nice sunshine yellow, I can click that, and then any subsequent frame that I make in here will be a yellow color, which is handy if you've got lots of different layers and you want to color code each one. It can be quite a useful little feature, that. So anyway, I've got our drawing layer. I'm going to call this Prince, and I'm then going to draw the prince, and I'm going to use a textured brush just to show you how this works. And I'm going to do his little head, little body like that. Obviously this isn't anatomically realistic, because if you really did meet somebody down the street who did look like this, I think the first thing you'd do is reach for your gun, possibly. But let's assume that the world is a happier place and people like this can actually live in it. And he's got a little plume of hair there, isn't he? Sweet. This is our little prince, right? And yes, you see, when I've not selected that, that's yellow there. Anyway, back to where we are now. This is our little prince, and if I just select him, draw a circle around him and just squash him about a bit so he fits on the stage here, then that's lovely. And the good thing is, yeah, I can zoom right in, and I'll show you how the textures work. Now, the great thing about this is that this is all vector. This is not bitmap. All of it is vector. It's so good. You can zoom in and zoom in and zoom in, and so long as your texture is high resolution enough, you won't really see any problems with it. I mean, the thing is, this texture is quite blurred anyway, so it should be right. Now I'm going to show you the movement options here, because now we've actually got something on the camera I can show you. Obviously a hand is shorthand in computer world for moving things around, so in this case it's moving the stage around. You've also got the option of zooming, so you can zoom in by selecting an area and it will zoom in. If I want to zoom out, I think it's, yes, Alt and Tab. Let's go back to the hand. Let's move that there. Now, the other wonderful advantage of this particular program is the Rotate View tool, which Photoshop has had for quite a while, and it's, I would say, one of the most important features in being able to really animate comfortably. If you're really well off, you can afford a beautiful, gorgeous, Mercedes-Benz of the tablet world Cintiq, which has a rotating pivot on it. But even with that, sometimes I didn't tend to, when I've been able to use one of those, I haven't really used it because it tends to just be a pain in the bum. And back in the day when I had a big Perspex disc to work on and doing the old paper animation, it was extremely useful thing sometimes to just tilt it, not massive amounts, just to tilt it a little bit so that you could get your hand in certain different angles and just comfortably be able to do a straight line without having to sort of cack-handedly bend your hand around. So with this, it really is good. You can do all of that stuff, get really, really stuck in there and not have to worry about what angle you're having to draw at any time. It's just brilliant. I really, really like it. When I put it back onto the hand, the other thing is, I don't know if PC users has got this advantage. They might do these days. But Mac users, if you've got a Magic Trackpad, this is extremely useful feature. I love it. I'm using 2 fingers here to rotate the view. I'm also using it to pinch and zoom, and I can move around as well. And that saves bucket loads of time, and it just feels more like real paper. I can just move it around like a physical thing, and it's a small little thing, but it, I believe, speeds up production, and it certainly makes it a lot more comfortable. So yes, definitely try to get a multi-track touchpad for your system, because it really is just bloody marvellous. Now, we've got our prints. I'm now going to make another drawing layer, and I'm going to call this one Princess. Oh, no, hang on. Beg your pardon. Princess. There we go. And I'm going to make this layer pink. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to make a stand. I'm going to make it blue, because there was a time, once upon a time in our history, when lady colour was blue and boy colour was pink. Look it up. Very interesting little weird fact that now, for some reason, all girls have to wear pink and look like bizarre blancmanges everywhere. So I'm going to go old school and make her blue, or rather the layer blue. She's not going to be blue. Now I'm going to use the pencil tool. Now, horror of horrors, Satan has just woken up from his dark, satanic grave, howling at the winds, saying, "Has someone summoned me?" Well, they haven't. They haven't, because this tool is just as marvellous. In fact, in some ways, even more marvellous than the brush tool, and I'll explain why now. Let's select one of these. You'll notice in this palette, all the brushes have tapering of some description. They cannot have tapering. If you want it to be a dead kind of line, then yeah, fine, you can do that as well. But I want a tapered line. You can also do a charcoal effect or various other textured edges if you want to. They don't have to be just sort of tapered, but the only thing they can't do, as far as I can see, is have a texture. I might be wrong in that, but I haven't ever used it in that way. Let's have a look. Oh, you can. Oh, no, you can't. No. It does have textures, but not in the same sort of way as the brush tool does. It's more sort of solid stuff. So if I selected chalk, it has this sort of chalky edge. Charcoal there, rough. It's very, very subtle in some of their cases. You can have a really soft line, a bumpy line, a grainy line. It's a lovely little thing. Now, I'm going to select that, and I'm going to draw our little princess here. And I'm sure she's going to look absolutely beautiful. I'm not necessarily saying that she's going to be human. she's going to be beautiful and loved by her parents. There we are. See how gorgeous is she? There we are, see, and you'll notice she is a girl because of this, because all girl characters have to have huge eyelashes for some strange reason. Now I'm going to give her a mouth. There you see, look, she's got that gorgeous pout. She's got a lovely flat nose that's very popular at the moment. And let's give her sexy legs. Let's give her a very sexy leg with a little high heel there. Isn't she just the epitome of chic style? Look at her. She's confident, ready to hit the town. She's just beautiful. I think she's beautiful. But age is creeping up. Anyway, no, actually, I'll get rid of that. Instant facelift. Now, what the difference is between these two characters, if I just unlock that, is let's have a look at... Actually, let's lock it and I'll show you just on this layer. If I use the brush tool, and I'm going to use a more conventional brush to show you this, it'll be clearer. If I do a little curly hue, like that, so we've got a nice thick and thin. Now, this line is the line tool, and this is the brush tool. And if I select them both, you'll notice that both of them are constructed in slightly different ways. If I use the sort of more intense white selection tool to really dig in here, the way that the brush tool is constructed is that it uses the outside edges, and you can move these around and fiddle around and fatten it, widen it and stuff. It's very nice, very creative and everything, but the problem with this is, say if I wanted this bit to suddenly sort of bulge over here or something, if I wanted to, I'd have to get hold of that and move it over, and oh, it's suddenly joined onto this bit, and oh God, oh no, oh, the whole world is ruined. Let's go back. So it's not sometimes very convenient to use. You see, you suddenly got this really ugly thinning here, and the only way to improve it is you have to sort of pull at it, and then you've got this horrible line across here. Oh, it's just really, really awkward. So let's get rid of that. Bing! Now, the advantage of the line tool is that the way it's constructed is from the inside out, so you only get this line. And if I want to, if I actually wanted to change her, I could just move that around and everything falls into place. I can even add bits if I want to. There we are. So if I wanted to, I can just give her a rather unpleasant facial growth. Do we want to give her surgery? I think we do. Let's move it back. Instant. She's got a slight lump. It'll heal over time. There we are. It's even better. You see, there's a slight lump there. We can get rid of that. Bing! It's a lot quicker. You might think, oh, well, the slight disadvantage is that you still can't thicken and thin the line wherever you want. Well, actually, shut the F up, because I'm about to blow your mind. If we look at this, this is, sorry, let me just select that. This is the pencil editor tool. So it edits the pencil, basically. Funny that. And you can use control click to stipulate where you want the outside edges to be edited. Now, let's say I wanted this to be thickened here. I can do that. See? She's now got a rather unpleasant mole which needs to be looked at, and or a very sort of high pressure vein that's so fashionable in Zygron 3 from which she lives. So let's just fiddle a bit, because oops, wrong thing. Let's go back. If I wanted to sort of thicken the top of her head, I could do that and just make it, you know what I mean? Or I can thin the base of her if I wanted to. So there's a huge amount of play with this. I'm forgetting my shortcut buttons. There we are. There's a huge amount of play with this, and you can really fiddle about and do some excellent cleanup work in a fraction of the time. It's really fun. And the good thing is that if you wanted to do some cleanup, or you wanted to sort of have some sort of softening to a movement, all you could do is copy this paste it onto the next frame and just tweak it a bit. You wouldn't have to go in and redraw an entire new princess from Mars. You would be able to just copy it and then tweak it and change it a little bit. And you would have a really nicely cleaned up version of it with still that little subtlety of movement. I wouldn't recommend it for big movements because then it just, I don't know, it's more trouble than it's worth. But for smaller, refinements where you just want that little bit more refinement of a movement, it's really, really good. It works very, very well, and I would heartily recommend it. The other thing I would show you as well before we go on to another topic is this. Now, if the princess, for example, had a cigarette, no, that's all right. No, let's do it like this. Say if the princess had a hand coming out of her chin, because she might. There we are. Doesn't look at all unattractive. We laugh now, but in a few years. Now, that is at the moment a hideous abomination, but it's at least scalable, because in Flash you're able to scale things along certain axes, but the only problem is that if it were more like this, then this, oops, beg your pardon, this hand, if you wanted to scale it, what you want to do is be able to scale it along the line of action that the hand is, you know what I mean? But at the moment, all you can do is this. So you've got this suddenly really strangely squashed, stretched hand, and you've got to shear it, and it still doesn't quite look right, and you've got to shear it again, it's still not looking, it's just really unpleasant, and that is the way that you've done it in many, many programs before. It's just really awkward. Now, the good thing about the way this is set up is that these bounding boxes, which you use countless times in any of these programs, in this program are always oriented with the screen. So if I rotate the image, it now is exactly positioned correctly for the direction that you want to stretch. So if I now stretch it, okay, you've got this rather stretched hand, but at least it's stretching in the right way if you want to get a swash and stretch. And you could always select only the hand part, oops, there we go, and just do that and do a bit of that. So now you've got your squash and stretch with minimal distortions, minimal unwanted distortions. Now that is an extremely useful thing when you're drawing your individual images. And that is how the brushes in this tend to work.